Finding wood rot is never good news. Fortunately, West System Wood Rot Repair Epoxy is ideal for repairing rotted wood around the house, including trim, posts, and much more. I have a section of Gable trim that split right where the nail was driven through it. Instead of replacing the whole piece, I'm going to repair it using West System Wood Rot Repair Epoxy. I measure the epoxy to the proper ratio of 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener by volume. Then mix it thoroughly for about a full minute, making sure to scrape the bottom and sides of the container. I start by brushing on a thin coat first, working the bristle brush into the wood fibers to ensure good coverage. This helps the epoxy soak into the wood fibers, leading to better epoxy penetration. Once that soaks in, I mix up another batch of wood rot repair epoxy, then thicken it with 407 low density filler. The low density filler makes it easy to sand once it's cured. I use my mixing stick to work the thickened epoxy into the damaged area until the missing section is filled. This repair could easily be done in place. You would just need to thicken the epoxy until it doesn't sag. After letting the epoxy cure for about a day, I wash off the amine blush with water and a Scotch-Brite pad. Then I sand it by hand with 80 grit sandpaper. With a little sanding, you can bring the trim profile right back to its original shape. At this point, the only thing left is paint, which protects the epoxy from UV and blends the repair in with the rest of the trim. The first thing to do when repairing rotted or damaged wood is to remove any loose or punky wood so the epoxy can get good contact with solid wood. I'm just using a wire brush to remove the excess. You always want to start with good wood so the epoxy has something solid to bond to. Next, I wrap tape around the bottom of the post. This is shrink wrap tape, but packing tape would work well too. The tape acts as a temporary form containing the epoxy so it doesn't run out. For this job, I'm using a 12-ounce wood rot repair kit. It's a good size for small repairs like this. The mixing bottle is nice because it already has measurement lines for the 2:1 mix ratio, and it also makes it easy to inject the epoxy right into the end grain of the wood. Before using the epoxy, I shake the bottle for at least a minute to make sure everything is mixed well. I use the nozzle of the bottle to apply the epoxy to the wood, then switch to a bristle brush to work the epoxy into the wood. I repeat applying more epoxy as it absorbs into the wood. I'm not trying to build up the epoxy yet, I just want to completely coat the area and saturate the wood fibers. After that, I apply 407 low density filler to the epoxy to thicken it up. I apply the thickened epoxy with a mixing stick, filling the damaged area. I build up the layers about a ½ inch at a time to keep the epoxy from overheating as it cures. I give it a few hours to cure until it reaches the rubbery gel stage before applying another layer. Then I mix up a second batch of wood rot repair epoxy with 407 low density filler to more of a non-sag consistency and fill the rest of the cavity. I work it in with a mixing stick, leaving the epoxy slightly proud of the surface so I can shape it later. The next day, I remove the temporary tape form and wash the surface with water and a Scotch-Brite pad to remove the amine blush. I hand sand with 80 grit sandpaper until the post profile matches the original shape. At this point, the only thing left to do is paint. The paint protects the epoxy from UV and helps the repair blend in with the rest of the trim. The same method works great for rebuilding fascia boards, trim, or really any exterior wood that's rotted, but still worth saving.